Revolution Radio proudly presents, live from the heart of the Blue Ridge, Roanoke, Virginia. It's the Just Bernard Show with host Bernard Alvarez. Join Bernard as he shares topics that reveal the real matrix and empower your human experience, including world liberty, the esoteric, suppressed technologies, spiritual ascension, and human consciousness. Humanity has awakened, and our time has come to realize our full potential. And now, live from the Star City, your host, Bernard Alvarez.
So let me tell you a little bit about my guest who's joining me today. For those of you that are watching live, you saw the book cover and the cards. Prema Lee Gurreri is committed to creating a world where everyone is empowered to live on purpose in a way that is aligned with their higher value gifts and their birthright of true prosperity. Prema is a leading Vedic astrologer, soul advisor, business consultant, and energy practitioner with more than 25 years of experience. She is a number one best-selling award-winning author of Your Sacred Wealth Code, Unlock Your Soul Blueprint and Prosperity. Here I am getting all tongue-tied. Your Sacred Wealth Code, Unlock Your Soul Blueprint for Purpose and Prosperity by Heart Drop Press 2017, and the creator of Your Sacred Wealth Code Oracle cards and Your Sacred Wealth Code Journal. Oh, I haven't seen that one yet. That looks interesting. And welcome to the show, Prema. How are you today?
I am fabulous. Thanks so much for having me.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. Like I said, I have been playing with Your Sacred Wealth Code cards, and very interesting. We'll get more into that in just a little bit. But before we get into all of that, I was wondering if you would mind telling us a little bit about how did this come about? Tell us a little bit about your life's path, how it unfolded for you to manifest this paradigm, this wonderful program and project that you've created.
Yeah, so I think that every step of the journey leads us to the step we're on now, but it has been a long journey. So I'm only going to backtrack as far as, back in 2002, I opened a yoga and healing arts center. And I had smaller yoga studios before that. And I had been teaching yoga and for quite a long time and doing private healing sessions with people. And I had started to become a Vedic astrologer at that point. And this was a really big project. And it had 2 beautiful studios. It was state of the art, everything. And I had practitioners there and really was building a beautiful community, training teachers, yoga teachers as well, in a very heart-centered form of yoga that just was birthing through me. And, as well as the business was doing, because it was a 6-figure in sales business, a lot of it, there wasn't enough, let's put it that way, on the physical world prosperity level coming to me. I was getting very rich with all kinds of personal growth and community, but, I had to make ends meet. And this was, I would say I was probably, as I look back now, a little bit ahead of my time, being that where I was living at the time on Bainbridge Island, Washington, and this is just when the Iraq War was hitting. And I had bitten off a lot, let's put it that way. I had listened to my guides, and for whatever reason, I really trust I was supposed to be there, but I couldn't quite make ends meet. And I tried everything on the internal world and clearing all my blocks, or I thought all my blocks, using my manifesting principles, reading the astrology and watching the energy and doing the marketing and the physical world stuff. But, things started to fall apart more and more. And I was entering a very tough soul cycle, as I would speak through Vedic astrology. And it was really causing me to do a lot of letting go. And during that time, my marriage fell apart during that time. I found myself looking for a business partner that almost went through, and then it didn't. I almost turned it into a nonprofit, but then we, had some loopholes we couldn't get through for that. And I almost even sold the center, which was heartbreaking, but at the same time, I didn't want it to go away. But as I was walking up to unlock the beautiful door one morning, very early in the morning, to teach one of those early morning classes, it just really hit me. It just stopped me dead in my tracks. I was hearing that I needed to surrender this, and I was taking it in a very spiritual way. Like, I was doing all the surrendering I could internally, but I heard it in a different way in that moment. It was a dark night of the soul, on my knees moment where I just was literally, got it. No, I actually need to let go of all this. I can't hold this up anymore. And as expanded and free and limitless as we are on the inside in the physical world, there is limitations, and I had reached mine. So I, was really hit pretty hard because no one really knew that I was really struggling like this. And what I couldn't figure out was, I really felt like I was totally and completely on purpose. And if I was that on purpose, why couldn't I get this piece to work? So I dissolved the center. And I really was in the dark night of my soul. And any of you who are or have been, you know that that's when there's everywhere you turn outside of yourself, you just sort of bump up into something, or there is nowhere to turn. And the only place to turn is to source. And it can be very dark in there by yourself. But as I let the center go and sold things, and I had to change homes at that time. My landlords wanted to move back in their home. I was supporting 2 teenagers. And I just committed to stay on my knees until I figured this out. So I just went into private practice. A friend offered me a gorgeous home. Things started to fall in place in some ways. A gorgeous home that I could have a studio at to live in. And as I went in and just really, literally stayed on my knees and did my deep work, that's when the Sacred Wealth Code really, I want to say, came to the surface and channeled through. So there is a principle in Vedic astrology that's called Dana Yogas. It's where your purpose and your prosperity planets, they come together, they connect. And at that intersection, people, what do they come to me for typically? Okay, where's the love of my life? Right. When's the, where's the money? Where's the career? What's the purpose? They don't usually come after they've won the lottery. And as I'm always looking at this place of purpose and prosperity, what I really started to see in a whole different light was that this is where our unique high value gifts are. Not just we have a lot of divine gifts, but the ones that when we use these gifts, not only will we feel on purpose, but we will create, the world will respond and will create the kind of prosperity that is very unique to us. And I'm sure we'll talk about that later. But the important point of this is, because I was on my knees, I saw where I was in my shadow. And that's really what kind of flipped me over to seeing the gifts that I wasn't using and the gifts I needed to stand in more so in the world. It's when I came out of the closet as being the intuitive I am and always have been and been kept, people's best kept secret for. I was stuck in the shadow of control and perfectionism, doing it alone. I'd lived on my own since I was very young, and I was independent, but I didn't know how to ask for help. And these things really took me down. And so I came out of that time, not only with the birth of the Sacred Wealth Code in a way that I could give it to people, and it's evolved over this time, so that they could get in touch with their highest value gifts too and create purpose and prosperity in a way that's unique to the individual. But I also was able to turn things around. I went online. I took in very exclusive small groups to work with, or just focused on one-on-one group in person and virtually. And I was able to shift my income and to within about 6 months period of time to very easily supporting my kids, and then moving it up and well beyond what I've ever had made beyond that. And it wasn't so much about the physical money, although, we need to live in both worlds, but I was able to achieve the prosperity that sustains me. I mean, I live in my beautiful dream home. My family is thriving. I can support them as I need to and want to. And create this work. It takes a lot to create the kind of products and stuff that I've done. And then to be able to have the resources, to be the prosperity, to continue my work and to continue spreading what my purpose is, which is living from the inside out and teaching others to do that. That's what, getting in alignment with my Sacred Wealth Code has given me.
I got goosebumps because I feel like I just heard my story. It's amazing to me how many synchronicities there are, not only in hearing your story, but for so many of us that do this work, how similar we go through that, as you say, that dark night of the soul. And it's almost as if, I always say I'm the hesitant light worker, or apprehensive. I never wanted to do this, but Source kind of just like shoved me out into the limelight.
Made
and
you
it's like,
do it.
you know, you have to, and did everything it could to make sure I had to do it. And it's just, again, the back of my neck has got a few little goosebumps from it. It's amazing how many times I've heard it, and to hear you say it again. And with that being said, let me ask you, Prema, one of the things that I know I still struggle with, though I still have my moments, I'm getting much better, but I find that it's very common for those of us that once we have, and I don't want to sound cliche and say we have that spiritual awakening, but once we begin to develop that relationship with Source, so many of us, I don't know if it's from programming, from Western religious or spiritual programming, but we seem to have a very difficult relationship with personal wealth or personal income. And it really, for me, it wasn't until a couple years ago when I realized, kind of what you said, I can't offer what I offer without taking care of me first and having the basic necessities covered when it comes to wealth and prosperity. But I wonder if you've tapped into that or have seen that.
Yeah.
Or many of us on the path. I don't know if did we take a vow of poverty in a past life, or what was that all about?
No, not necessarily. And it's a really great question because, you know, my passion is teaching and guiding entrepreneurs, visionaries, change agents, you know, as we are, and who's probably listening in, to lead with your unique high value gifts and to truly align with their purpose and passion to create wealth for themselves and the world simply by being who we are and doing what we love. Now, the thing is, though, a lot of our gifts are what I call unseen gifts. And so let's just use the gift of being an intuitive. That's something we share, and that's an unseen gift, as well as being an empath and a lot of healers. These are unseen gifts, and they haven't been recognized in the world necessarily, or we haven't been recognized for those gifts. So those gifts, as they emerge, they come from this place that we've kept hidden, and we haven't gotten that, hey, it's great that you have that great ability. And until and this is something I teach in all of my courses, until we can energetically stand behind ourselves and really own our own gifts and own our value internally, then the world isn't going to recognize us for those gifts. Now, on the other hand, if we're using gifts that aren't really our highest value gifts, the things we're just good at, either will the world recognize us and we will we'll feel unfulfilled because it's not really our thing, or it feels, like it's soul crushing in a way, or we're using our gifts but we're not making we don't have that prosperity coming to us. Then I guarantee you, yes, you've got programming going on and you're standing in part of the shadow of your gifts. One of the things I love, and I'm going to sort of jump ahead here for a moment. One of the things I love so much about the Sacred Wealth Code system and the archetypes came in a little bit later. And what I love about the archetypes, and that's what, you were referring to the cards, they're on the cards, they're in the book, and they're also in the journal as well. But the archetypes are a soul language. And so I can say leader, I can say administrator, I could say merchant, or the muse to you. And each one of you listening in has a little different story that opens up. It's very personal. Now, each one of the archetypes has high value gifts, but each one of the archetypes also, a good amount of the description and articulation is devoted to the shadow. So, for instance, if you're a great nurturer, you might be a great empath, and you might have, really amazing connective abilities, and you're loyal and reliable, and you really can see the best in people, for instance. But you also might have that shadow side of the overgiving and the martyrdom that comes from that, or maybe being over emotional. And because, we haven't cleared that shadow, which is the programming, which is the ways you weren't recognized or told that that wasn't a gift earlier in life, or you have identified with the world of, oh, I don't see where there's value in any of that. We have to go in and clear those patterns and work with the shadow in order to unlock that gift. And once we unlock that gift, like for instance, you were mentioning the mystic beforehand. One of my VIP private clients, Kiki, she's been working with me for a couple of years, and she had worked in HR in corporate for a long time, and she really didn't want to be doing that anymore. So when I met her, she had already left corporate for a couple of years. She was really struggling, living off of her retirement, and the work just really resonated for her when she read the book. She reached out to me. We began to work together. So within about a 6-month period of time, she was making $10,000 a month. Now, what shifted for her was one of the things that she has the mystic in her wealth code, and she felt very invisible in the world. She is very much of an introvert, which the mystic will do. It's a very spiritual aspect. But she was in the shadow side of doing a lot of hiding her gifts. So we had to go in and clear those patterns and work with that. And I have lots of different clearing processes. And even in the book, there's a couple of clearing processes. One is called Bringing the Shadow into the Light. And by clearing those patterns, 6 months later, she has her own business, and she was hired for something she loves to do, which we also articulated, which is basically she goes into companies and helps kings or queens. CEOs become either kings or queens. She really supports their vision throughout their company and puts all the structures in place for that. And she's doing that magnificently now and being recognized in the world. She still has that mystic, so we have to make sure she has the right kind of retreat time for herself, that introverted time, so that she can really nourish, and then she can be out in the world in a bigger way.
Well, I can relate to everything you just said. Thank you. And I'm so glad that you brought that up, because I do feel that there is, as well as that strange relationship with, let's say, wealth or monetary income or whatnot that we have as spiritual people and, healers, etc. There also seems to be this, again, is it programming, this fear of facing the shadow, looking at the shadow part of ourselves as something that needs to be suppressed or killed or destroyed, versus facing it and working with it, assimilating it, whatever it is. What are your thoughts on the shadow, what's a good way of assimilating or working with it?
Yeah. So two things. I'm going to answer that, but let me back up to one thing you said before, which was, let's go back into more ancient times in the Vedic system, in really all cultures. I think this was prevalent in all cultures, that the spiritual and beings and the healers, they didn't have to worry about making money, because they were very well revered and they were very well taken care of in the culture. And that doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
So that's a big piece of cultural programming that's kind of a missing piece there. So it is new that we've got to, those holding that space have to straddle both worlds in a different way. Before, they were taken care of, and they were at the top of the class system and not at the bottom. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there is some we are creating a new paradigm. And if you're listening in, you're probably on the leading edge too, in many different ways. And it's a little lonely out on the leading edge. Yeah. And that's why we all have to make sure that we're in like-minded, like-hearted community. So as far as the shadow goes, I really believe that everybody's welcome at the party. And what I mean by that is every part of you, every aspect of self, if we can put our arm around that part that is in the shadow, that part of us that's acting out, that's stuck, that's, being a martyr, that's in fear, basically, in some way, and realize that is a part of yourself that has either been hurt, been through some trauma, come in as a soul challenge, because that comes in that way too, or has got some deep programming. And that part of you is like a 5-year-old that stubbed its toe, and no matter how mad you get at it or whatever, it's not going to get up to speed with you until you go and find out what's going on with it, put your arm around it, welcome it in, allow it to feel safe, find out what it's really trying to do for you. Usually those parts of ourselves that are in fear, that are stuck in a pattern, are trying to keep us safe in a very convoluted way that doesn't work for us and doesn't realize that we're an adult and we're mature and we can keep ourselves safe. So that filter gets filtered over certain areas of life. So if you have, in the 4th chapter of your Sacred Wealth Code is your greatest challenge is your unexpected gateway to wealth. That is because when you have a challenge, when you have a shadow part of yourself, I want you to start leaning into that and realize there is a gift, there is currency in there that's so locked up. So for instance, everybody right now, I want you to just think back over the last year or the last 20 years, and what is a big challenge that you've gone through that you can now see the blessing in. And just let that come to mind for a moment. And whatever that challenge is that you can now see the blessing in, you got put into, Spirit's pressure point so that, you had to deal with that part of yourself. If you can see the blessing now, means that you did deal and you did come through that. And the way to do that easier in the future is, first of all,
hold that thought.
No worries,
Prema.
no worries.
We are going on a commercial break, everyone. We will be right back, and we're going to continue our discussion.
So what I was asking you to do is to, if you have a challenge now, to lean in, knowing that there is a blessing in that challenge, and to understand that the shadow side of you, anywhere, and in my system, the shadow side on any of the archetypes, is what manifests when the energy is no longer tapped into the grounding, loving, positive energy of your soul. And instead, it's operating from the ungrounded, reactionary energy of your ego and the cultural programming and the subconscious belief systems. Now, in my book, and also with my book, there's a whole online portal where I lead you through meditations and practices and processes, because it is a playbook, a workbook, a journey that you take. I have a practice called Bringing the Shadow into the Light. And so what you would want to do is just go ahead and find out, what is the fear, what is this part of you afraid of, and there's a belief under there. And maybe, like many of my clients, it might have a belief of not being good enough, for instance, or fear of being seen. Sometimes that's in there. And then we look at your gifts and we find out what gifts are you using quite well and quite comfortable with, which can actually be a bridge. And there's a process I do that helps to sort of pull this fear-based belief back into current time, powerful, confident time with you, by connecting with one of your high value gifts, as I like to call them. And I call them high value because you have a lot of divine gifts, but which ones will you be recognized in the world for? Which ones will unlock what you've come to unlock here in the world? And the value that you receive from them will actually really resonate for you. And we're talking well beyond money, because money is only one aspect of value.
Absolutely. Wonderful. I love it. Thank you for that. I really appreciate hearing you clarify that. It helps me, and I'm sure it helps many of our listeners. But if we could, I'd like to move on to, we're talking about your book, The Sacred Wealth Code. So what is the Sacred Wealth Code? How can we understand what you mean by that? Why are you calling it that?
Yeah. So let me first define what my definition of wealth is, which I really derive from my studies in the Vedic system, which is wealth is everything you need to fulfill your purpose. It's what you need to acquire. All your wealth houses in your soul blueprint, in your Vedic astrology chart, they follow your purpose houses. And it's lined up to, again, what do you personally need? What's the time? What's the food? What's the freedom? What's the relationships? What are the resources? What's the knowledge you need to be and do what you've come here to be and do? So again, your Sacred Wealth Code basically is, when I look at your soul blueprint, it is where your purpose and your prosperity intersects. You can think of those as two roads that literally intersect. And at that intersection, what I continue to find, and it's what I found in myself, and what I found from my clients over the years, is this, and let me just say that this is based off a scientific principle in Vedic astrology. I've just given it a new expression, but the science is still there. So this is where your highest value gifts are. So imagine that at this intersection between purpose and prosperity, there's houses on the corner. And those houses, the more of the time you spend actually being in your gifts, using your gifts, which does include stepping out of your shadow so you can use your gifts. The ones, though, that are in your sacred wealth code, not all of your gifts. Like, I'm a great administrator. I'm a great organizer. I've helped with companies in a lot of different ways in that capacity. But that is not my highest value gift. In fact, I tend to feel worn out after that. My highest value gifts are much more in my intuitive sense, my wise teacher. That is part of my sacred wealth code. My messenger/communicator, my ability to take spiritual information and bring it down to the practical and give it to people in ways and that they can actually use it and embody it. So we all have different gifts. So it is those highest value gifts that you have. The archetypes are a really wonderful, fun, and highly connective way of you interacting with your own gifts and discovering your own gifts. But it really is, your sacred wealth code is the more time you spend in those houses on the corner of your purpose and prosperity intersection, the more you will be, just by using your gifts and fully embodying them, you will attract wealth, you will create wealth in your life in a way that's meaningful to you.
So that brings me to the next question: is how do we find our archetypes? Does the book explain to us how to identify them?
So there's a couple of different ways. One way is, as if you read the book, and again, you'll be asked questions, you'll be taken through small meditations that really go straight to your soul. And actually, we're going to do this really quick. I want everyone who's not driving to close their eyes and put their hand on their heart. That was lovely. We all just created just a beautiful sacred space. I hope you can feel that. And I want to invite you just to take a couple of deep breaths through your heart, just like you're breathing in and out through your heart. We're just bringing our minds and our hearts together. Our heart is where our wisdom is. It's where we connect with our soul. It's where we connect with the field, the quantum field. And our mind is a great tool, but we want it to follow the wisdom of our heart. And take another deep, full breath. And just let this question drop into your heart like I'm throwing a pebble into the pond of your heart. And there's a lot of different questions we can ask. And the reason I'm doing this is because under the premise of all my work is always tuning in this way. So you can learn to tap into your own guidance and also to trust yourself by following through on it. So the back door into the soul, this question is, if I tell myself the truth, just let that drop in into your heart. If I tell myself the truth, what is one of my high value gifts that I may or may not be currently using? What is one of my high value gifts? Something that's just so unique to me. It's like I was born with a PhD in it. What's one of my high value gifts? And then the next question, if I'm using that high value gift and I really stepped in and owned it and embodied it and used it, what would that make possible for me in my life? I'm sure that something came up for all of you, and you can feel free, if you're watching this live or afterwards, to whatever chat is there, to type that in and share that. Your soul always knows the way. And through the book, I have exercises where you tune in a similar fashion to get these direct answers from your soul. You understand, you learn what your wealth dream is, you understand what the 4 pillars of wealth are, what your purpose for wealth is, what your passion is to keep you fueled for actually doing it and creating it, what at least a couple of your high value gifts are, and then also your greatest challenge and what's one of the gifts in your greatest challenge. And then you're poised for reading through all the 23 archetypes and choosing them, or as I like to say, allowing them to choose you. You typically have 3 to 5 archetypes in a sacred wealth code. Now, even though all those archetypal energies are within you, And you can play with the Sacred Wealth Code Archetype Oracle deck on a daily basis to access those different energies that are just within you. But to really hone in on which ones you want to bring in for creating wealth, you want to discover your Sacred Wealth Code. You can also come in and go to sacredwealthcode.com. And you can book a Sacred Wealth Code reading with me, and I'll look at your chart and I'll read it, and I'll actually give you your Sacred Wealth Code archetypes. And depending on if we have a reading where you have a conversation with me, you'll ask me your questions, and I'll give you direct guidance on how to use it, where you might be stuck, and help you with that. And in all my programs, whether you're in my Sacred Wealth Circle, my Business Academy, or a one-on-one type client, I then help you to drive the Sacred Wealth Code. It's one thing to know it. It's another thing to actually use it, embody it, get past your shadow, and actually use it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that sounds wonderful. And you were talking about, I guess I'm asking this so we help our listeners to understand the outline of how the Sacred Wealth Code works. So I guess let me start by asking, when we do the work within the book, does that help us create like a chart for us?
It doesn't create a chart. What it does is it comes off the premise that I believe everyone's already connected to their Sacred Wealth Code. But what it does is it opens up the parts of you, and you become aware of the things you need to become aware of in order to then dive into the archetypes and be very honest with yourself on the ones that really do hold your highest value gifts. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Because you might say, okay, well, I'm a great teacher and I teach and whatever. But once you do the discovery through going through the processes in the book, what you then might start to own up to the fact that, yes, you're a great teacher and everything, but really maybe it's the gifts that the advocate or the leader has that's really where your highest value is. We're not always using our highest value currently. It might be something we need to grow into.
Oh, yeah. And I can relate to that on a personal level. I was told I would be doing this in my teens, and I was like, you're out of your mind. I had an astrologer do a chart for me, and they said, you're going to be a great spiritual teacher. I was like, no way. I was in beauty school. I was like, that's not going to happen.
Well, even when my astrology mentor, I had a similar experience when I was younger, but my astrology mentor, the first time I went and saw him, and I was into Western astrology and everything before that, but when I saw him, he looked at my chart and he says, you're supposed to do this. You're a Vedic astrologer. And I said, yeah, that's nice. I'm kind of busy right now. Yeah. And he said, no, you really are. And then, and it took about a year before I actually embraced that. And he's a great teacher, and he still is my mentor. And when I did, I just dove into it, and literally it was like, because it's a pretty complicated language and it's a lifelong study. And I was like, had been doing it my whole life. It's just, I'm wired that way, but no, I didn't, even as an adult, I didn't accept it right off the bat.
I totally relate. Yeah, absolutely.
We're a little slow sometimes, right, Bernard?
Yes. Yeah. We gotta pull all those veils away and all that programming, and I guess let life run its course and get out of our own way sometimes. It seems.
Get out of our own way is a big thing we have to do, and that's really a big part of what I'm here for, is to help you get out of your own way. Because if we could do that, we're just so brilliant. You're all so brilliant. You all are so gifted in so many ways, and in the ways that will make your heart actually really sing, and not just around money and, that kind of wealth, but you will feel spiritually wealthy. You'll feel like when you put your feet like there's a reason to put your feet on the ground every day, and that you'll even sometimes I'll work really long days, but I love, love, love what I do. And I know that there's things that that enliven you. Now, look, we live in an expanding universe, and the more that we focus on anything, it expands. So we don't want to focus on our fear so much. But your gifts are the same way. The more you use them, the more you interact with them, the more that gift will expand. Like, for instance, someone who's a great pianist and they continue to play, their music changes over time, and they expand, and maybe they go into teaching, but if they keep playing and composing, it doesn't ever get dull. There's more and there's more and there's more. The same way with you, and the same way with your gifts. You are such a wealth just being who you are.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you. And to switch up just a little bit, this is for my own personal curiosity. You also, not only do you have the Sacred Wealth Code book, you have the Sacred Wealth Code Oracle cards. And as someone who reads tarot cards, I love Oracle cards, any kind of Oracle card, angel cards, fairy cards, and to receive your Sacred Wealth Code Oracle cards was really a blast. And so far, I personally have just been using them as a daily meditation. I'll pick a card, I'll lay them out, I'll shuffle them, and I'll just grab one card and see what the message of the universe is sending me today. But I keep getting the same one.
Okay. Well, it's time for you to get that message already. Okay.
Apparently so. And,
so let's talk about that. That's the mystic, right? You keep
I keep getting the mystic, and I unfortunately I don't have the image of it to pull up on the screen for those watching the video. But it's a beautiful card, too. And I relate to everything it says. But what else is it trying to tell me? And what would you tell someone that keeps getting the mystic card? Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna kind of do this mini reading for you on that, and then I'm gonna backtrack and give just a little bit of information about the cards. Okay, but let's stay with this while it's fresh. So, the mystic is. It's I'm spiritually wealthy is its mantra. Each one of the archetypes has some descriptors, and then it has a mantra. It has a soul desire, a purpose, and a shadow side, as well as its high value gifts, an inspired action plan, and also a description of the high value gifts and a description of the shadow. Mm-hmm. So it's rich, but it's not like, you open the book and you're like, oh my God, I got to read 4 pages, and who's got time for that? It's totally digestible. Yeah. So the mystic is, and I talked a little bit about my client Kiki with the mystic. The mystic is that recognition of that you are spiritually wealthy, and should be nurtured first and foremost, whatever that takes. And my sense for you, as I'm seeing this for you, because you are very connected, obviously, to Source and the spiritual side. That's a big part of who you are and what you're doing here in the world. And you're being called to go to a deeper place with that, which does take carving out that time. Now, interestingly enough, we're coming right up on the solstice. I call this time of the year the eye of the needle. There's things you've got to lay down in order to really go through this dark time and experience the inner light and get the gift at this time. Otherwise, we're just kind of frazzled, pulled apart, and end up sick during this time. Mm-hmm. So there are things that you need some quiet time. And you need to dive deeper. And nothing I'm saying is in judgment whatsoever. It's just what's coming through. You need to dive deeper than you've been diving, and really give yourself the time to sit in the field, because there's things that want to come to you. There's new openings for you, new revelations for you. There's new information for you, but you've got to go inward enough and for long enough in order to receive those gifts. Are you tracking with me?
Oh yeah. I have my eyes closed, and I'm feeling as well as hearing.
So because there's also this kind of, you also have kind of this antsy energy going on, and I totally get it. Mm-hmm. So you want to turn the dial down on how tapped you are into the collective right now, as far as the collective fear and the collective, that kind of energy. Okay, that's very unsettled. And then so that you can turn the dial up on receiving the messages you're to receive for the next turn in your path, and where you're also leading people. So when you keep pulling a particular card, it means you still need to be working with that energy and to get creative. And how else can I work with the energy? In the back of the there's a guidebook, obviously, with the cards. Mm-hmm. And let me just look at something here. In the guidebook, the questions aren't there. Okay, great. In the book, all the same descriptions are of the archetypes in the book, and in the full book. And the archetype descriptions are a little bit longer. And if you go into the very back of each one, there are some a sort of a deeper level of tapping in. So this one is tapping in with your mystic, and it's really asking you to sit and drop into your heart. And really, there's a few questions to drop in here. What are my mystic's highest value gifts and talents? How can I use my high value gifts and talents in my current work or the work I want to be doing? What's one inspired action I can take to do that? And there's also some questions for the shadow. So I would suggest you get the book out and you spend some time in meditation with the questions for the mystic, and see what comes up for you. Okay.
You got it. Thank you.
You are
My
welcome.
homework as soon as I get off off the show.
And I want to hear back what comes up for you. So
Yes.
the cards are all hand painted, really detailed, beautiful, gorgeous paintings that I collaborated with an artist. And I would say, oh, what about this and this? And she'd paint and we'd collaborate. It just really feel very, very blessed. So I have all these gorgeous paintings. And I was writing the book and I got the download, oh no, you have to make this Oracle card deck. I'm like, yeah, right. I've got other things to do. I've got clients. I got to get on with things. And no, I had to stop and had to do this. And had I known all the ins and outs of this, I would have not done it. But I'm glad I didn't because, ignorance is bliss. And I actually did it and it's out in the world. And the cards they're just magical. The more you use them, the more energy you put in them and they become more intimate with you. You can pick out your sacred wealth code archetypes if you've got those and sort of focus on those. You can do what Bernard is talking about. Like I do after meditation every morning, I just happen to pick 2 or 3 cards on most days. That's just kind of my pattern. And then I talk with those archetypes and I find out what my high value gifts are. I have the Sacred Wealth Journal, which is actually going to be, the pre-sale is just started. It is on Amazon, the Sacred Wealth Code Journal. This is the practice I use with myself and my clients, where it's a gorgeous journal where you have the dropping into your heart practice. There's also a meditation online you can access for that. And you find out each day what your heart wants for you, what that will make possible, and an inspired action around that. And then you pick a card or 2 or 3 or whatever. And there's some questions around the cards. There's also a Sacred Wealth Council meeting. There's also quotes. There's also some pictures of archetypes and some other things in the journal. So it's a brilliant way to put the Sacred Wealth Code into action, whether you're using the book, the reading, or the cards themselves.
Wonderful. So there are a lot of tools available to stay with us and keep us involved, basically. Yeah.
Well, there's one thing. Here's the thing is that my clients, and I'm probably talking to the kinds of people that I resonate with because I'm talking to you, so are very conscious. But there is a gap between what they know, what they're conscious of, and what they've brought down into embodiment. They're not necessarily living from soul to soul. And there's a gap there. And it's not enough to just have an insight. And it's not enough just to know. You have to actually be able to, how do I be that? How do I do that? How do I embody that? We've got to come all the way down here on planet Earth. That's where we make the biggest difference. That's where we find our most joy. And so we've got to do the soul work. So I've provided and created this particular trilogy to support you very creatively in a way and very simply to actually do this soul work, to get in alignment with your highest value gifts and create the wealth and the prosperity that you're ready for.
That sounds great. And thank you for that, Prema. I'm definitely going to keep working on what you offered and shared with me today. We are getting ready to run out of time, so, and it's funny, I ask this of every guest, especially when we're talking metaphysics and connecting with Source. If you knew that every single person in the world was listening to your words right now, what would the message be that you would want to offer everyone?
Your soul knows the way. And getting very intimate with yourself, dropping into your heart on a daily basis and really learning to not only listen to your heart, like we did a little earlier here, but then the last thing, which we didn't do, and we'll do it right now, whatever came up for you with your, when we dropped into your heart before, your heart wants for you, then what's an inspired action you could take? Oh, this was around high value gifts. That's right. What's the truth of one of your high value gifts? What's an inspired action you could take to use that high value gift today? What's just one inspired action you could take today to use that high value gift? Asking your heart. You see, your heart knows the way. And when you actually follow through on the wisdom of your heart, the guidance of your heart, which is the wisdom and guidance of your soul, you build your trust muscle. And when you can truly trust yourself, and please do the work to learn to trust yourself, because your soul does know the way, your heart knows the way. And when you trust yourself, then you are going to be making that amazing movement that you're here to make in whatever way, and you will totally fully feel that deep sense of fulfillment that you may long for.
Perfect. Beautiful. Thank you. Perfect moment and thought to end our talk on today. And again, I want to thank you for joining us, Prema, everyone. You can get the Sacred Wealth Code. I'm guessing the book is available at all major bookstores, Amazon, etc.?
All major bookstores, and the book and cards are both available on Amazon, and the journal just went up for pre-sale on Amazon.
Wonderful. And of course, you can visit Prema at
my website
sacredwealthcode.com. And everyone who's listening on Revolution Radio, I want to wish you a very, very Merry Christmas, Happy Solstice, Happy Yule, and seasons greetings, whatever you celebrate. Have a wonderful and make wonderful memories this week and weekend.